everybody. Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland. Lauren and Tommy have the day off. A little bit of a late episode this week. We're going to be talking to Dylan Malitsky, the man who is in charge of all things Wodapalooza. So before we get to that conversation, I want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Thirdzy. If you have not tried their rest and recovery collagen, you absolutely need to right now. Go to thirdzy.com. That's THIRDZY.com. Use the code TEF at checkout, and you're going to save 20% on their rest and recovery collagen. This stuff is fantastic. I've admitted before that I don't get enough sleep, but I get the most out of the sleep I do get because of Thirdzy. It doesn't have any melatonin in it, so it's not habit forming. It's got GABA, magnesium, L-theanine. These are ingredients that are in there to help calm your central nervous system, and that helps you get to sleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling better rested and more recovered. So check it out. It's thirdzy.com. It's their rest and recovery collagen. They got a new flavor coming too. Just going to sprinkle that out there. But the ones they have, the flavors they have now, it tastes great. They make a great product. We are so happy that they're on board with us because it's something that we certainly believe in here at Talking Elite Fitness. All right, thirdzy.com. Use the code TEF. With that, let's get right into it. Here is my conversation with Dylan Malitsky from Wodapalooza. Dylan, how you doing, man? Where does this podcast find you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm here in my home of Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Backyard there. Yeah, just home sweet home.
Nice. I wanted, before we talk about everything that's going on with Wodapalooza, and there's a lot, want to look back at SoCal, and we were just talking about this before we came on, but my feeling was like year one, 2024, was sort of proof of concept. Year two felt like, okay, this is what, like now we're running. How did it feel to you?
I think exactly the same, Sean, 100%. We went into it obviously very ambitious because of the legacy that Wodapalooza has built over the last decade, feeling like we could go to any market and just crush it because we have the notoriety. But we were coming off the heels of a West Coast Classic, which we had also produced, which we felt, maybe the market isn't as strong for fans and participants in the sport. So from that, then into SoCal last year, we had 800 athletes. But this year, I would agree. I feel like we've really we had the flag in our hand. We didn't plant it last year. This past year, we definitely planted it. We doubled the number of athletes from 800 to 1,500. Ticket sales were way up. Like it felt, and I talked to a lot of folks that said that SoCal actually might have been better than what they have experienced in the past in Miami. So giving Miami a run for their money means we're on to some good things.
Yeah, what do you think it was that accounted for that?
That made it better than the year prior.
Yeah.
In general, it's as you get more people there, it takes on more of a vibe of a festival-like atmosphere. And I think that also translates to the brands and how they are showing up, right? Like if you walked by LSKD's booth, they were having a dance party 3 times a day that they had scheduled. So it was bustling and bumping, and everybody's showing up as if it is the style and caliber of an event like Miami. It really takes the entirety, not just like my team of people putting on the event, the athletes showing up, the friends and family of the athletes showing up, but there's got to be so many things that come together at the right time. And that's what I think translated to SoCal being as good, if not teetering on being better than Miami.
What were the key learnings that you took out of 2024 that helped lead you to this place?
Well, tons. That was our first event ever building on sand. So we went into that with our eyes wide open of, okay, we certainly thought it would be a lot like building in Bayfront Park, but that was a nice test drive leading into Miami, actually. But again, just a lot of learnings around the production, what we would call site operations, and how to bring it together. But then I think beyond that, we were also launching a brand new format of competition in the Tier Cup. We were trying to take key learnings from other sports, whether that be the Ryder Cup, whether that be NBA All-Star Weekend, whether that be the CrossFit Games Invitational, and how do we make it exciting and captivating. And I think through last year's model of trying to find the right blend of community competition and a new elite format, I think we're able to really dial that in.
Yeah, and that Tier Cup is such a small part of it, although, I mean, it is like the marquee event. And again, I just felt like last year, not that it wasn't fun to watch, but it just seemed like it was proof of concept. And then this year, just the way it was formatted and the way the arena was set up, like everything just felt like, oh yeah, okay, this is what this was supposed to look like. What do you think the main reason was for, and I'm guessing you kind of, from what you said earlier, you felt the same way, but like, what do you think the main reason was for that? It's just that you had a year under your belt and you knew kind of how to do it again?
Yeah, I don't think there. By the way, I will say this: we did optimize quite a bit of things with the Tier Cup. However, looking back, really, there's not much that changed, and I think that's what made it so much better, and special in year two, is that people had that experience of what they saw last year to take the storylines, to understand the format. So a lot of it just comes down to education. That was the thing that we really wanted to focus on coming out of year one. Going into year one, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but it is a very different type of scoring and concept than what we've seen in our sport previously. The Invitational was 2.5 hours in one day, had 4 teams. We were 2 teams. We had these very specific workout types between individual, all hands, teams of 3. So the ability for us to reference last year so that people were able to watch the documentary that was produced by Tier, which was phenomenal, I think painted a nice picture of how it will work, then made it even more exciting going into year two, because you had, will North America retain the title? Okay, we have this thematic of Sandy delivery. Now we're doing it again on the same day the following year. How will the team show up? I think you just had a better understanding. I don't think a whole heck of a lot changed. There were some changes in the point structure. We added some points associated with just finishing to try to de-incentivize people from sandbagging on certain workouts. But beyond that, not much really changed if you really look at it and compare both years side by side.
Yeah. So I love the format. I think it's exciting. You know, I remember when I first heard about it, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I think what would be great is if you added a couple more teams. Where do you see this going? Is it going to stay 2 teams? Do you think that's ideal, or is there a world in which we could start seeing this more? And you mentioned the Invitational. I think everybody would love that, and I don't think anyone would have a problem with you saying, "Yeah, we're just going to do that and make it cooler."
Yeah, I mean, look, the multi-day format's here to stay. So, as far as the is concerned, this is going to remain different. The multi-day, I think, to be able to cap off or put as an intermission in between the days of community competition, I think is what makes even Miami special, the elite combined with the community. So we wouldn't change that in that sense. But you're not the only one to say that more than 2 teams would be a good idea. 3 or 4 is definitely appealing. When you talk about proving the concept and making sure that we had really top tier athletes competing on the teams was our number one focus for year 1 and year 2. But as we press ahead and you look at year 3 and year 4, there's definitely an intention to look at how we can make it even more exciting, make it more fun, provide more of an opportunity for more of the elite athletes. There were some that were left off the roster, which we got quite a bit of criticism for, which I'm not afraid to talk about at all. That I think would love to be part of it in the future. So from our side, we are going to continue to iterate. The other thing too is that we really built that with Tier, right? We created the format, our team, and then obviously worked with Tier to make sure it was something that they were proud of. But then from our side, with our new title partner coming in, we want to make sure that they feel like they're able to put their flavor, their expression of what they want to see as the capstone event in SoCal. So working with Jim Reapers, our new incoming title sponsor, to make sure that it's the perfect format is something we'll do hand in hand. Okay,
so it's a couple of things there. So first, you mentioned the athletes being left off. I think a lot of people were wondering why a guy like James Sprague didn't make it, and you said you'd be willing to talk about that. So what went into that decision?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is that those invites went out months and months and months in advance. So prior to Miami 25, we had already gone out and gone to the agents and gone to the athletes and gotten verbal confirmations. So that was coming on the heels. It was right around the time that the games had happened, the 24 games. From there, to tell you, James was on the list, a short list of athletes, but we had our list. We had then gone through, and this is something that we did hand in hand with Tier. So we have our roster. Their thoughts are, is there a focus and an emphasis put on inviting some degree of Tier athletes? Like, I know that's Tier's job to make their athletes are represented. We want to make sure that it's the most captivating competition and that it's the most fair, that it's the most exciting, that you have the best athletes out there. So bringing those 2 things together, those invites went out before Miami. I would venture to guess that if those invites had gone out post Miami 25, James would have absolutely been an individual on the roster. So that unfortunately just wasn't the case, and we'd already had verbal confirmations from everybody on Team North America. Specifically, we had one spot that needed to close on the world side of the men's competition that went a little bit beyond Miami, but that's it. It was just the timing. It was literally just the timing. In hindsight, post Miami, he would have been there.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that. I want to come back to the selection process, but the big news obviously is that the relationship with Tier is now ending. You're bringing on Jim Reapers as the title sponsor. What prompted that?
Yeah, I think it's largely business, right? I think we're in an industry in which it is very, very challenging to produce successful events. And so when brands are willing to come in and invest, you have to put it all on a scale and decide. And I would say the last 3 years with Tier, actually, looking at 4 years is when they first came on the scene. The first year they were our eyewear partner, and then they came on board as our title. It was awesome. And we were able to do a lot of really cool things. And I think Tier saw success in that as well over that period between signing a ton of athletes, producing a ton of products, footwear becoming a major product category for them, which was really released during the time of which they were entering the CrossFit space. And so actually it was within the last probably 6 months, we were approached by the team that had some members from the CrossFit community that were part of their team planning on the events and marketing side, that they had a real intention to come out and be part of what it is that we're doing, and also just CrossFit by and large. They were talking to a bunch of other events. Through their research, they identified that Wodapalooza was one that they felt carried the value of the most value for what they're looking to accomplish within the space, which is, capturing the community athlete and capture the 99%, produce products for them as well.
What do you think Gym Reaper's kind of fresh perspective that they're going to bring that will be beneficial to your event?
Sure. Yeah, look, they come from outside this ecosystem, right? They come from the powerlifting, bodybuilding world. And so, but I think there's a lot of overlap there, right? And weightlifting as well. So they make a lot of products like belts. They make a lot of apparel. They make a lot of knee sleeves and things that we already are using from our side. And I've actually seen Gym Reaper's products in our gym well before they've decided to enter into the CrossFit ecosystem. So with that, Sean, I think they're coming in with a fresh set of eyes on this space and saying, how can we bring the great things that we brought to these other communities, which they are, they've been a big sponsor of the Arnold, the big sponsor of Olympia, which again are, multi fitness and sports festivals that they've had a big presence in. And they've looked at our audience and said, and looked at the consumer and said, we see a lot of the similar type of diehard fans that we want to be in. And I also don't think that there's really a brand like Gym Reapers in terms of their aesthetic, their brand appeal. Like when you compare it to some of the others, nobody has this dark and sort of edgy look and feel that I think our community has been missing. You're seeing it in some of the stuff they've already produced. You're seeing it in some of the shirts they've already sold and some of the athletes they've signed. They're establishing themselves with a really clear identity, and I think it's going to be a great marriage, and I'm excited to see what we can do together. How
is that aesthetic gonna blend with Miami? Because when I think of Wodapalooza Miami, I think of the the neon bright colors, the pinks and the baby blues and all that stuff, and here comes Gym Reapers, which is just like kind of what I like is kind of black basic, and that's about it, right? And they don't seem to match that kind of vibe. How do you think that's gonna blend?
I think that's been part of the most fun of what we've started doing, which is figuring out how to blend the two brands together. Wodapalooza has become synonymous with the bright pastel-y colors. And I think it's very synonymous with like Miami Vice whenever you come and look at our signage. And we actually take a lot of pride in every year you showing up and seeing a little bit of a different feel from each event. We've done a really good job, I think, of differentiating the Miami and the SoCal looks and feels. There's some parallels, obviously, but making them have a little bit of a different identity. But actually, the fun thing will be the reveal. So what you're seeing now, this campaign of under construction, is literally the intermediary period as we work and finalize what this new look and feel will be. But it's going to take the best blends of both worlds. Think of Miami at midnight, and then just like let your mind wander. Lights, same blues, same pinks, and imagine a little sprinkle of skulls and the type of fierceness that Gym Reapers brings to the table, and that's what you're going to have, and we're really excited to roll it out. That's going to be over as we get a little bit closer to the event.
So you're going now from Wodapalooza SoCal, an event that you've only done twice, into now Wodapalooza Miami. That will be, and there's a lot going on with that, but that is an event that has been around 12, 13 years now.
Yeah, big 1-3. Yeah, man.
So how these are two now different beasts. Like there's a lot of learning that and things that you can adjust with SoCal, because like you're still figuring that out. Like this is old hat. Like Wodapalooza Miami is a fixture in the space. So how do you continue to make that better and evolve it as you move into 2026? Pardon me.
2026 is right. Yeah, man. Crazy how the time flies. No, so I think the fact that we're now entering this new period with a new title partner will allow us to really think about things differently, because they're coming with fresh ideas and we're considering all of them. So how do we integrate things from the outside? Like this year in SoCal, we integrated USAW, and we had an actual official weightlifting meet that contributed to people's national totals. So that was cool. And how do we find some of those things and integrating them into Miami? One. Two, this will be the first year that we're in March. So this was a big initiative of the city of Miami Beach to bring us there. So I think, like, as we talk about newness, last year it was moving it to Miami Beach. That was our first year in Miami Beach, which is almost no different than a first year event, because there are so many key learnings with doing an event on sand in a new municipality. The city of Miami is very different and functions very differently than the city of Miami Beach. So now as we enter year two, we're able to take all the key learnings that we had of operating the event, how we laid out the space. And there's going to be a lot of change to the layout. If you were there last year, you know, it was very, very long, 800 meters end to end, just on the other side of the dunes on the water side. We're going to be using more space closer to the street and really just try to optimize it. Because I think that was one of the best things about what we had in Bayfront Park was the natural flow of where the stages were placed, with all the festival-like atmosphere kind of contained in the middle. That once you were there, it was almost like you were in Disney World. You were in a theme park almost. To try to replicate what was great about that in the beach is a challenge and a puzzle in its own right. It's actually what makes it fun for us, of trying to find that perfect mix. So the addition of Gym Reapers, the addition of taking the key learnings from last year, finding the right things to integrate, and then also the big one, which we announced over SoCal weekend, which is the partnership with the CrossFit Games and the Open, I think is going to make it feel very different than what it's been, given the time of year and everything going on.
Yeah, I think when we saw those dates roll out, everyone was like, well, why don't we just do this at Wodapalooza? That'd be amazing. But I think given the history, and I think what CrossFit's reputation sometimes of not maybe playing well with others in certain spaces, it was sort of like, this probably isn't going to happen. But so how did that come about?
I think very naturally. I think the conversation started right around when the dates were announced for us, which candidly, we were pushed into those dates more specifically. There'd be no desire for us to put ourselves in a position where we're overlapping with another event that could potentially hinder us and them, right? That wouldn't make any sense. We're very cognizant. We keep our head on a swivel as it pertains to other events in the ecosystem to try to make sure we're not stepping on toes. But once they were, and once we knew we were going to be there, it was an immediate reach out from my side. And there was and I'll tell you what, from the moment that I reached out to the folks at CrossFit, they were very open and receptive to the conversation. And I think that stems from our long-standing relationship, operating semifinal events with West Coast Classic, Wodapalooza having been a sanctional event years ago. But it was awesome, the fact that they were all on board. It took quite a bit of discussion, because there is quite a bit of layers in terms of what it's going to take to make this happen. Like, if we're going to have stages at the event in which anybody can go to, whether they're a spectator, athlete, whatever, given the rule book of CrossFit, to be able to have those scores qualified, that takes a lot of logistical and probably thought from their side of if they want to really make that happen. And then same thing with the competition. So all individuals, all pairs, and all teams of three, they're all going to be participating in the open workout as one of their scores for the whole weekend. And again, just the logistics behind them feeling comfortable with rolling that out, not to mention the complications of sponsorships with maybe brands overlapping. But there was a real intention from day one with CrossFit of them wanting to get this done, as was the case with us. And it took right around until the games, actually, where I was there emceeing just prior, had a meeting with Dave and Heather, and that's when it was, this is a done deal, let's make it happen.
When you mentioned the hurdles of them being comfortable with this, like, how did you smooth that out to get to the point where everyone said, yeah, this is going to happen?
Yeah, I think we just had to meet in the middle on a couple of things, right? And namely, like, what we feel comfortable with receiving as far as that information is concerned and lead up, and like who's going to know ahead of time. Because, as should be the case, the programming needs to be extremely tight to the vest in order to maintain the spectacle that is the CrossFit Games Open that people join in year after year to participate in. So, and there's always chatter about leaks and things. So in order to get them comfortable, there just had to be some parameters put in place that we had zero issues with. And then the other one was, on the partnership side, if we have Tier as the title partner, hypothetically speaking, they have another brand and that's their moment. The idea is we're rolling out this big moment the third week of the Open. The actual announcement itself is going to happen on the competition floor. That can't happen if there's brands in the background that are in conflict with their sponsors. So just working through some of those nuances. And by the way, they're not all figured out right now. There's intention over the next several months as we get closer to make sure that those things are dialed in. But I have no doubt with the collaboration between their team and ours, which has been really refreshing and fun, that we're going to make it happen. Okay, so speaking of collaboration, we talked about sort of the selection process with James Sprague earlier. And something that I would love to see is I guess it's now the Gym Reapers Cup.
the former Tier Cup, whatever it's going to be. That competition is like the all-star event at the end of the CrossFit season, and there's some sort of performance-based metric that you can have throughout the entirety of the season to figure out who's going to represent what team. Now, CrossFit would absolutely have to be involved in that, but do you get the sense that they are open to maybe more, I don't want to say bigger, but more like longer term collaborations that sort of mesh into the season like that?
I would say so. I mean, it was great having them there and being able to show them around. It was the first time that Dave and Heather had been at Wodapalooza, for them to be able to see it firsthand and see the impact. I think it's one thing to see it in photos and videos, but I think photos and videos I don't want to say they can be deceptive, but it's easy to feel like you're not getting the full picture through a social media page. So the fact they were able to be there in person and see it, I think it gave them the confidence that we're in this doing things the right way for the right reasons, and that it's a rising tides sort of situation. So I do believe that them and CrossFit are open to collaborating more thoroughly. I can tell you those conversations around SoCal have not started or happened yet, but certainly an idea that we're open to.
You mentioned emceeing too, and it's like one of those things where that's where I first got to know you. I think you've been an MC ever since I've been involved in this, and but I just don't picture you that way anymore. And so when I see you out on the competition floor doing that, it's kind of refreshing because I think you're one of the best at it, and it's cool to hear you out there. But why do you still dabble in that?
It's funny you say dabble. Honestly, I had such a good time this year. I had such a good time, and it had been a couple of years since I did it. Candidly, I hadn't been asked for a couple of years, and I was wondering, the why. And I think back a few years ago, I was doing things on behalf of Loud and Live with O'Keefe and the rest of the crew that involved us producing Noble's activation at the games. And in 2018 that they did the global broadcast so we did a Spanish language broadcast there. So my role was needed elsewhere with my day job, let's call it. And so it precluded me from being able to do it. And it bummed me out. I really wanted to do it. I've enjoyed it every single year, no matter the stress, no matter how, the long days. It's exhausting, don't get me wrong. And truthfully, even being on the podcast, I don't enjoy public speaking. It's not something that I really relish in or enjoy. It's just not my cup of tea. However, I will tell you, there are moments out there on the competition floor where between heats where there's a little bit of a lull in the action, and I've got the mic in my hand, I've got the in-ears on, and I'm looking around at the crowd and seeing everybody so excited sitting on the edge of their seat. And I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is the coolest job in the world. And so it's that feeling that I get either during, which in that moment, or after, where I'm like, this is so rewarding for me, because there are, even though I'm terrified of it still to this day, there are millions of people that would love to be standing right where I was standing, looking over at the runner that Tia Claire Toomey's on as she's trying to catch because she's in second place in the workout, and I'm giving the meter count to the crowd. It's that makes it so special for me, because it's a sport that I care so much about.
Yeah, and I got to give you guys credit. I've said this before. Being a floor announcer is, I don't know how you do it, because it's usually you're working with someone else. You guys are on separate ends of the floor sometimes, and there's a rhythm that you find that just seems seamless. And it's like, you and Larry and Joshy G and Kiki, and I know I'm leaving people out, Mike Richards, Logan, like you're all so good at it. Like, how does that chemistry develop out there when you're emceeing with someone else?
Well, first I'll say it's funny that you think it's so hard with us, but then I look at what you do. And by the way, I've been that kid that's sitting there watching on mute the games and trying to also replicate what it would look like to see, hey, could I throw my hat in the ring at commentary? The answer is very quickly, it's not something I could do. So hats off to you on that. But as far as the rhythm's concerned, it depends. But I'll tell you, Kiki and I had a really great rapport.
Yeah.
It helps being able to hear the other person. So when you have in your monitors, that makes a big difference. If you don't, that can be really tough. There's been moments where you have no idea what the other person's saying. It sounds like Charlie Brown's Christmas, and you have no clue. So you're just like trying to riff and make sure you're responding. You have to be really cognizant of the other person talking, and you start to just learn the inflection in the other person's voice to know when they're going to stop so that you can take over. But then there's this balance of, I don't want to say too much and take over. It needs to be a nice ebb and flow. So it happens naturally. And to be candid, I think it works better with some folks than others. Like, I feel like Josh and Kiki have always had like the best dynamic. I think me and Mike have a great dynamic. I thought me had a good dynamic. Some people work better than others, but I do think Kiki and I this year, we were really gelling, and it was really nice to get back out on the floor with her. Yeah,
I think people that are good at stuff make stuff look easy, and you guys make it look easy. And I don't think people understand like how much work prep, that goes into it. Like with the things you have to think about on the floor. Like you said, someone's in your head sometimes, and you're trying to talk, and then you're hearing something else, and it's It's chaos out there, and I don't know. I just don't think the floor announcers get enough credit.
But it's the same for you. You were going through it's probably worse for you because we actually don't have as many people in our ears. We're just listening to the other MC. You're having producers talk to you. That is far more challenging in my opinion. So I hear you on that. It's just look. I bet you if you were to step on the floor and in my seat, you would probably be way more comfortable than you think. But I appreciate it big time.
I've done it before, and the first thing I thought, and it was for like a little local competition in Atlanta for barbells for bullies. I went out there to do it, and I was like, I swear, like 30 seconds in, I go, I don't know how these guys do this. I'm like, this is not. This is tough. This is really difficult. So anybody who thinks that it's easy, you're just going to go out there and talk. It certainly is not. But there's a lot of, I think, uncertainty in the space right now with everything going on. But where are you at? Like, what keeps you? I think you're a genuinely positive person. What keeps you positive and optimistic right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of the data points, Sean, and I'm one that just, as I read a new news article or another press clipping or a story from someone, I'm constantly registering on a scale of even keel and positive, negative, right? So I would say they're going into the CrossFit Games this year. I think there was just constant negative. And I can give you some examples of what some of those things are. People boycotting the CrossFit Games, right? There's one. So there's another negative point. Hearing about de-affiliation of CrossFit gyms, another negative point. Let's talk about like West Coast Classic not filling the stands and feeling like it was empty, even if it wasn't actually a negative event. There was a ton of seats there. It still gave the perception of a negative event down. Looking at other events that are events that my friends organize and operate, being down in attendance or down in participation and canceling them and seeing the rise of High Rocks. There's a lot of negative points going into what I thought was the CrossFit Games. And then I thought, and from my perspective, then I would definitely not, I wouldn't say I was in a negative headspace on that. It's all just data that I'm processing. But then I'm starting to see now a lot of the positive data points. I'm looking at the CrossFit Games having what I thought was a real step in the right direction with a successful year. Albany, the right choice. I think they're deciding that for us. They're going to be, that's already probably a foregone conclusion that they won't go back there. Yeah. But beyond that decision, everything else seems to be trending in a positive direction. Combine that with how I felt like SoCal was trending from the moment that we went live with registration, the fact that it pretty much sold out instantly. It's like, okay, there's still a market for folks that want to participate in CrossFit. And then just, again, knowing that there's a lot to look forward to, I think, like from our side with Miami and the partnership with the CrossFit Games Open. So just keeping we have to keep a positive mindset. I'm definitely more of a realist. I'm not a glass half empty or glass half full guy. I'm just very observant of what's going on. And I feel like the trend right now is trending from negative into positive. And I don't think that's all the things, but I think majority so is positive. Mm-hmm. And then the big one for me, right, is and I don't know if you were going to get to it, but the fact that now I'm part of a new group of ownership around Wodapalooza, and I think that the group that I'm with, these guys are coming in really bright-eyed and excited to grow. They have a lot of really great ideas. They have a lot of ambitions. They come from the space, and so knowing that I can be part of that and understanding their vision and knowing that our visions are aligned keeps me going and keeps my team going. Do
you have some examples of like where your vision is aligned and kind of maybe with things that they want to do that you can share?
Yeah, they want to expand. So they're looking at how do we maximize? I'll give you an example. So they were at these individuals were at SoCal, and to paint the picture for you, it is for independent entrepreneurs that have come together that are friends from a CrossFit gym. They've each been doing it for more or less 15 years each. One is a commercial construction owner. He owns a company that produces commercial construction that's renowned here in South Miami. Another is an executive vice president of Morgan & Stanley. They both are on the executive board for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The other two gentlemen are brothers, and they've also been doing CrossFit for a long time. They operate a company in Latin America that oversees 2,500. He oversees personally 2,500 people. This is a passion project for the four of them. And when they came to the table interested in acquiring Wodapalooza from Loud and Live, knowing that they're coming in as CrossFitters, understanding the space, having participated in Wodapalooza for a number of years, either as a spectator or an athlete, have done the Open for years and years. They said to me on site at SoCal a number of times, they're looking around and saying, hey, why isn't there an LED on this side of the floor? How come like nobody on our side can see? And we're like, oh, well, it's very budget focused. It was a budget decision. He said, look, I'm going to tell you now, and you're going to learn this from our side of ownership, is let's enhance the experience and the profits, and the bottom line will come. Yeah. So hearing them say that was extremely refreshing. knowing that they're in this, as we mentioned, doing the right things for the right reasons. They just want to do well by the community and make an impact on improving the space and improving each of these events. And then their ideas are that it will represent in the bottom line, eventually. So knowing that we don't have to, as the expression is, like, cut off our nose to spite our face, and focus on a long-term vision of growing those two events. And then, another example of, you asked where are the things where our visions are aligned. They imagine Wodapalooza expanding internationally. So I don't know if that's where we're going, but yeah, look, we still need to make sure that Miami and SoCal, they're our flagship. How do we now look at taking this on the road, whether it be to South or Central America or to Europe or to Australia, and doing it the right way? That's an important piece. And there's some other ideas too that this literally is an evolution of the last maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So a lot of brainstorming ongoing as we speak. But again, they're just passionate individuals that love the brand of Wodapalooza, love CrossFit, and want to do right by it. And the fact they can have their hand in it, that's why our visions are aligned.
And that was kind of my next question, is that you took 11 years to expand outside Miami, and you've proven you can now do it in different locations. Wodapalooza has become more of a brand than an event. People, I think most people in the space who've been around any amount of time, they have an idea in their heads that is most likely going to be uniform. If you ask different people, like, what is Wodapalooza and what does it mean to you? They'll probably say, like, great fitness festival with a fantastic elite competition and cool, community events. But now you've got that proof of concept. So when are you comfortable making the next step to, like you said, taking it international? Like, what are the boxes that need to be checked in order for that to be done?
It's going to be slow and methodical. So it's going to be slow and methodical. We need to make sure that one of the things that the chairman of the board, I'll say, the majority stakeholder, Gall, has mentioned a number of times, is defining our sandbox and making sure that we're not rushing to do anything, which I really appreciate. But making sure that, again, one of the things that's become synonymous with these larger festivals and Wodapalooza is that they're destination locations. Yeah. Whether there was an event going on or not, it's a vacation location. If Wodapalooza wasn't happening, I'd want to be there anyway with my friends or family, enjoying the week or weekend, because they have a natural appeal. It just so happens that Miami and SoCal have been on the beach now the last couple of years, but in reality, that's not an end-all be-all necessity. And then the other thing is you mentioned our visions are aligned too, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention what Wodapalooza's ultimate mission is. I know we have this mantra of celebrating fitness, community, and life, but how that translates into an actual mission or vision statement. Wodapalooza is a platform meant to inspire, encourage people to lead a healthier and fitter life through our events and competitions. So as long as we can create an event that gives people something that they can look at the wall and say, I need to train and get ready for that, and that helps them along their fitness journey because they're focused and dialed and disciplined, then it's accomplishing what we want. So as long as the events that we put on check that box in a location or destination that makes sense because it is something that people want to go to and be at, 365, whether it's for the event or not, and that we know we can emulate the type of experiences, the festival-like atmosphere that you have in each of those, then it's going to make sense. But we're not going to do it haphazardly. We're not just going to throw a bunch of events at the wall and see what sticks. Just like the time and attention it took to bring SoCal to life, we're putting the same time and attention into considering all our options as we look internationally.
Yeah, more is not better, better is better. And it feels like you guys are, if it's not going to be better, we're not going to do it. I totally respect that approach. What's coming up for you now in the next couple of months? I know March does not seem like it is right around the corner, but it is more or less in your world right around the corner.
It's going to creep up. I mean, look, the new ownership, again, it's the entire team, by the way, from this transaction has come over. So it's literally anybody and everybody that you've known. Actually, they were all at SoCal. So literally it's going to be status quo, business as usual, but it's really laying a good foundation with this new entity and making sure that the team feels supported. So that's going to be the next couple of months. Postmortem, recap SoCal, make sure we're in a good place. But next week actually begins our online challenge and qualifier. Luckily, all that work had been done well before SoCal, whether it be the programming, registration, going live, all the things that are necessary to have a successful one of those. So that's coming up this coming week. And then from there, it's just all systems go on ramping up for Miami. So you're right. 5.5 months is never enough time. It's going to be a sprint, as it always is, but that's why we love it, right? It's this huge build up to this climax of a pinnacle event at the end of every 6 months now that we have it scheduled. But again, it's so freaking rewarding that it just keeps us going.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, I always appreciate you coming on and talking to you, and thanks again for letting me be part of your Wodapalooza SoCal. Like, it was an awesome experience, and you guys really are onto something. Like, it felt like, okay, yeah, now we're cooking with gas, and I'm glad to hear that the new ownership is there supporting you the way that you should be, because I think I've mentioned the MC thing, but you work your ass off at this, and I know the whole community appreciates it. And you don't get the credit you deserve for putting on these events and providing this community with something to kind of rally around and enjoy. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it.
And that, Sean, that means a lot, man. Really appreciate you having me on too, and hopefully we'll have you out there in Miami, and whether it be for the open announcement or the whole weekend, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, so. I'd love to be there. It's a fantastic experience. I tell people, if you haven't been to Wodapalooza, you need to go. It's a lot of fun. Like, that is one thing I remember when I had never been, and Tommy was kind of underselling it, and he was telling me how awesome it was, and I got there, I went, oh man, I get it. Like, this is, and that was when it was at Bayfront. I have yet to be at Miami Beach, so yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Sounds good. Awesome, man.
All right, Dylan, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, be better, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Start of a first date. If it's good, I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking everything.